You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Thank you for joining me on this Training Thursday, one of my favorite topics to talk about, and that is exercise. But not only exercise, it's really optimizing exercise, because I think most of us know we can go to the gym, or we see people at the gym, and you can either do a machine circuit, you could hop on the treadmill and just run to your heart's content for a half hour to an hour or so, or you can go through a really thoughtful exercise program that was developed just for you, or at least having to do with just your body and just your needs. And that's something I want to talk about today. Is I want to talk about how inflammation is actually created in the body through an actual workout, through tissue damage, and then also how do we decrease that inflammation caused by tissue damage or lactic acid buildup, which we'll chat about, and do that in a very precise, scientific, but easy manner, because these things really do matter. One of the big things that holds people back from starting an exercise program is they don't want to feel sore. They don't want to feel tired. They want to feel aches and pains and the tightness and the stiffness and all of those different things. Especially when I talk with people in the 40, 50, 60 plus, they're afraid to start working out. They're afraid of, feeling like their whole body hurts, or they hurt their back, or any of these things. And I think once you understand the processes that are going on in your body, you're not so worried about it. Like, you just think like, okay, this is what's going to happen. No problem. This is the beginning stages. My body's going to get better. It's going to get stronger. And I, as a result, will get better and stronger, meaning more physiologically adapted to this weight training, which literally means that you are growing younger. So here's the issue. When you do lift weights or you do any exercise, it could just be body weight, or it could even be running, you're going to create a certain amount of tissue damage. So that means you'll actually be breaking down fibers inside the muscle tissue, and that's perfectly normal, Your body's used to that. So it breaks down, and then it just rebuilds back up. As long as your body gets all of the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants, the amino acids from protein, everything that it needs to recharge, re-replicate, and build back up muscle tissue. And it does this without you even thinking about it, as long as your body has those specific nutrients. And again, that's why we always talk about doing a good multi, or doing the daily nutritional support, doing some greens, just doing what your body needs. Vegetables, some fruit, low glycemic if you choose to, protein, fat, not focusing on any one macronutrient, such as a protein, carb, or fat, as being any better than any of the others. We know that that's ridiculous, that choosing one over another doesn't make sense when your body was given all three and needs all three in life. Now, can it get away with doing certain higher or lower? Sure. Is there an appropriate time to do certain higher or lower? Absolutely. That's not today's discussion, but a healthy human being does need all three. And as you're about to find out, one of the things that we're talking about with exercise as well is not only is the tissue breakdown, but we're talking about how the body actually functions. And so I'm going to keep this pretty straightforward today, because there are different nuances within this topic, but that won't be today's discussion. Maybe we'll make that for a future discussion. But today, know that when you exercise, you can exercise in the aerobic capacity or the anaerobic capacity. Now, what does that mean? Aerobic, think of that as like you're running, you're jogging, you're biking, you're walking, any of those things. Aerobic, we think of the heart and lungs. We think of oxygen, okay? And then anaerobic, think about weight training, weightlifting, sprinting all out, anything to the max, okay? That's anaerobic. So now when we're talking about aerobic-based exercise, we're not talking about using what's called a fast glycolysis or a sugar-based or lactic acid-based system in the body, part of the systems. So what I mean by that is this. your body, when it goes for a run, a jog, a walk, a bike, whatever it might be, not interval-based, but steady state, is going to be predominantly using oxygen as a fuel source. Now, is there some lactic acid? Is there some other systems of the body working? Absolutely. I'm not denying that at all, but it's not the primary source. But when we are doing an exercise, that's typically 90 to 120 seconds or less. And again, there's different types of glycolysis as well. Some just under 10 seconds, which is kind of like all out maximal. Your body's going to use more of the its anaerobic capacity, which means it's going to start burning sugar more, and it's also going to start building up more lactic acid inside the cells, inside the muscle tissue. Now, that's not a bad thing at all. That's actually a normal function of our body, and that happens when it's under a specific type of acute-based stress. And lifting weights or your own body weight or even isometric exercises or an all-out sprint is a form of stress on the body, okay? It's a form of stress on the muscles, all right? The neuromuscular system, meaning the nervous system is telling it what to do. So it's also very high neuromuscular as well. That will matter because I'm going to talk about that in one moment. So when this happens, our body starts producing a lot of acid. Now, acidity and alkalinity get very confused in the natural health world and just completely overlooked in the conventional medicine world. And that's because of this. In our modern day brilliance, we forget that there are many different capacities of the body. That'll be the word of the day, capacity. And that when we talk about modern health, modern science, modern medicine, we're always talking about the blood. We're so fixated on the blood. But when you look to all of the other truly brilliant forms of medicine that look at the entire body, we understand the blood is but one component. And it's actually probably, I would say, the weakest component because it relies upon all the other parts of the body to keep it balanced. I want to repeat that. The blood, that means when you get your blood work done at your PCP as well, your MD, what you see in that blood work is so much less significant in the long run, not the short term, but the long run, than looking at your digestion through an organic acids test, then looking at your food sensitivities, then looking at your cortisol, your estrogen, your progesterone, your DHEA, your testosterone, your toxicity levels, a stool test to look at parasites or H. pylori. Those things are so much more significant, so much more. And the reason is all the things that I just named are called subclinical labs, which dictate how your blood looks. And that's because your blood is called a homeostatic fluid. And what it does is it robs from one part and pulls it into the blood. And it might give it to another part. That's what it does. That's how it maintains homeostasis. And it is beautiful because it keeps us alive. I have no doubt about that. But do keep in mind, when we talk about acidity, and someone might say, well, that's not true. Acidity doesn't really matter because, the blood's always maintains a 7.356. And I say to you, that is absolutely correct. You've done your homework. You know that is the pH level of the blood. But did you know the stomach has a different pH? The duodenum of the small intestine has a different pH. The jejunum, the ileum, the whole colon, the large intestine has a different pH than the small intestine, than the stomach. It has a different pH than actually the mouth as well. And that has a different pH than the inside of all of your muscles, which has a different pH than the inside of your mitochondria. So when someone wants to talk about pH and they want to say, well, the body always maintains a certain level of pH, I would say that's correct. That is correct. But every different compartment of the body is different. And until we really realize that, we don't understand how lactic acid then affects our body. Because some people can't clear lactic acid as quickly. Why? Well, they lean more acidic. That means although they do maintain a balanced pH, they're always balancing a little too close and they're using up large amounts of acid buffers, which are typically minerals. So now they start to break down more bone and more of all these, other types of alkaline-based minerals. I'm getting a little bit off topic, but that really is what we're talking about with inflammation and sore muscles. One of the reasons I share that with you is this. I essentially kept this a secret for many, many years. I don't know if I've ever shared it publicly, but this is quite a while ago now. I would say it was about 10 years ago, maybe even just a little bit more. And I was working as a personal trainer, and I could not really do heavy workouts anymore. I literally couldn't do very much at all. I kept myself, what I would say in good shape, and my body was strong, but I really couldn't work out. That means I couldn't play an all-out basketball game. I couldn't lift very, very heavy squats anymore, any of these things. And the reason is my body would produce this massive amount of inflammation, a massive amount of acidity, so much so that the day after I did a heavy set of legs or a heavy workout of legs, I would actually get a sinus infection. I would legitimately get that dryness in the back of my throat. I would get congested in my nasal passages, and I would become physically sick for essentially the next 7 to 10 days. And that would be long enough for my immune system to try to catch back up, knock down this inflammation. And then I would take it easy again, exercising. I would try it again. And then the same pattern would happen. My body was having an incredibly difficult time processing the exercise-induced inflammation-based response, which affects your immune system. And it was having a very difficult time buffering acids. So what I tell you is, again, now that I'm thinking about my head, this was a little further back than just 10 to 12 years. Time passes quickly. This was about 15 years ago because I can remember very, very specifically now. And it was very frustrating to me because there's no real good information on this topic. And when you look up DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, or any of these things, that's not what I was going through. I was going through an actual immune response, and I couldn't clear lactic acid out of my body. And that would literally change the pH of my body. And yes, that would actually affect my immune system. Now I understand why and how that works. And believe it or not, that's what's going to help you, I believe so, today. And that's because no matter who you are, you eventually reach an upper limit to how much you can exercise before your body's just really sore, really inflamed, and is basically angry at you the next day. You kind of feel worn down. Well, I used to get brain fog on top of that as well, and I work with a lot of people who feel those same exact ways. It's like flu-like symptoms. If you've ever had the flu, that's what I felt the next day and essentially for the next week or maybe even longer. I dealt with that all through my undergrad in college, and I dealt with that for another about 4 years or 5 years after that. That's exactly what it was. And then I figured it out. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I worked on it, but really how you can use it, obviously not on this massive level that I had it. But it's this, is that your body can actually recover. I mean, your body can recover from anything. Again, so I was pretty sick many years ago, right? But there's people out there who are far more sick than I. I mean, like I'll sit across them, whether it's on Skype or in my office, and they're worse than I was, and no doubt about it. I can help them the same exact way, but believe me, like you have to understand there's always an answer, always an answer. So if you're like, well, I just always inflame, my whole body hurts. I mean, I have this hip pain, sometimes it's my knee pain, then it moves up to my abdomen, it just kind of floats all around. Well, you're dealing with a systemic inflammatory based issue, and it could have to do with acidity and not just lactic acid. All right. So here's what we want to do, especially in terms of exercise. We want to exercise. We need to exercise as humans. We need movement. But what we need to do is we need to start at the lowest common denominator of what isn't going to hurt our body. So when I have people come in with chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia or any of these things, I'm saying, what can you do? Or what do you do right now that doesn't hurt? They say, well, I can go for like a 20-minute walk. I say, great. Okay. We're going to go for a 20-minute walk. We're going to take that to 30 minutes the next week. How does that feel? Does that feel okay? We'll do a day off in between if needed. And then we'll go to that. And then the next phase, which might be 40 minutes, like we'll look at that. All right, then we're going to do some light cardio. Why light cardio? Very, very interesting. Why not interval training? You know, why is Dr. Cabral saying, everyone else is saying interval training? Why not him? Well, here's the thing. I promote interval training as well, but guess what? Interval training is also aerobic based, and it produces more lactic acid. Can your body handle that? Yes, fantastic. You're good. Now, how much can you do? And we'll talk about how to just remove that and recover faster from your workout. But lighter cardio buffers lactic acid, and that's why it's going to be part of the treatment protocol, which I'm going to talk about now. Okay, last part before I get to how to flush that inflammation and soreness out of your muscles. It's this. It's that your body will eventually be able to keep up and dispose of the lactic acid in a more efficient manner. Remember I talked about capacity, that being the word of today's show? Well, it eventually begins to build up its capacity. So what I did is, like, how did I eventually go from not being able to work out because I would get flu-like symptoms, brain fog, and sick? I would just get sick, ear, nose, and throat issues. to then being able to do sprint triathlons and do a decent job. Well, like that, how do you make the jump? Very slowly. So I found out what I could do. And from there, I did it so strategically. I literally added one more set of a new exercise, meaning that let's say I could do 3 exercises. Well, I had a 4th exercise, but not a second round of those, not a second set, because your body has a more difficult time doing more sets of one exercise because there's more tissue breakdown, more neurological push, so it's harder on the body. So once I could do basically 5 exercises, 6 exercises in a workout at one set with enough, breathing in between to kind of calm that central nervous system, I then did 2 sets of all of those exercises. Plenty of rest, plenty of time. And when that worked, great. Then I could eventually add a 3rd set or do different movements. But that's over a period of weeks, okay? Weeks and months, I should say. Weeks and months. And I just built my body back up. Same with those heavy squats again. The first time I did them, complete overload, even though it was only 1 extra set, going from 1 set to 2 sets. Okay. So I did that second set. I just used lighter weight. I just took it back a little bit. All right. But then how did I really then take it to that next level? Well, I learned a lot more about recovery, and that's what I want to share with you now. So here's what you want to do after your workout. Like sometimes the true growth and healing process doesn't come from the exercise itself, but how you heal your body. And that's what I really tried to master. And so what I realized was if I did cardio after my workout, now again, not in interval, you could do intervals, but you have to end with either some light cardio on a bike or just going for a walk or a light jog, something very light, but you're just pumping the blood through your body. So what are you doing? Well, you're moving the lactic acid out of those cells, out of that area. Even a walk will work, so that's great. The second big thing, this was a big revolution. That's why people say, how do you choose the things you like to give away as free gifts some months? And it's because these are things that have helped me in my own life, and they help other private wellness clients. So I'm talking about giving away a mile ball, which is one of my favorite things to use. It's because there's tremendous benefit to it. I use a regular longer foam roller and I use a mile ball. And after a workout, I basically give myself a massage. I do the self-massage with a mile ball. And then I try to get a massage as often as I can as well. How often can someone get a massage? Well, it's how often is you really make it a priority. You can make it a big part of your life. But everyone can do foam rolling. That's a big thing. I know that for sure. And by doing some self-myofascial release, some self-massage, using a foam roller or your own hands or a dry brush, that will help you to move that lymph. It will help you to circulate the blood, and it will help you to recover faster. That one was huge for me. It really, really was, especially when I was training for sprint triathlons, which I do plan on training for again. And then the last thing you need to do in your workout before you leave that workout floor or your basement, wherever you are, is you need to stretch. Really, really important. Why stretch? Here's the thing. You go from using the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, over to the parasympathetic nervous system. Not only do you calm your muscles, you calm your nervous system. And when you calm your nervous system, now you can begin to heal. You can't heal in the excited nervous system. Okay? So that's really, really important. You could even just stretch in what's called the Siddhasana pose, or the kind of the lotus pose, where a lot of people do meditation, and just breathe. All you have to do is belly breathe. And if you do that, you're calming your nervous system. Another one is just, instead of Siddhasana, it's actually called, I believe it's Savasana or Savasa. Let me mentally check that for a second. And I believe it is Savasana. And that's the corpse pose. So sometimes as I'm talking, there's different parts of my brain working. They don't always work as well as I'm researching. So that's basically lying on your back. You're just breathing into your belly. You're feeling your belly rise and you're feeling it fall. It's called the corpse pose in yoga. And it's obviously one of most people's favorite. You end a good workout, you're just lying and relaxing your body. It could be for 3 to 5 minutes, which it typically is in a yoga-based class. And that's so fantastic. Now, after that, just a couple more things you could do. An infrared sauna or regular sauna. You heard me talk about it last Thursday, how amazing just 19 minutes as many days a week as possible can be for your overall health. What also helps you circulate blood. It also helps for tissue repair. Absolutely amazing, especially if you can get in one of those saunas as many days a week as possible. Now, a cold shower is not always the best. I will let you know. Helps a lot of people, but if your body was in a position like mine, I can't make that the topic of today's show because my time is up. I know that. But here's the thing. A cold shower is excitatory, which means that it will spark your nervous system. Great for an endomorphic body type, great for some types, good for bringing blood flow in and out of the muscles, not always great for an already jazzed up body. Heat is more relaxing. Sometimes it's better. Again, sometimes, not always, but sometimes it's better. And then after your workout, how do you want to finish? A greens juice, a greens powder even. You just need a lot of liquid, a lot of water. You can do this during your workout. I recommend before the workout, during the workout, and after the workout. Keep it simple before the workout, during the workout, which means just a greens powder like our daily fruit and vegetable blend, or pick your favorite greens that you want, or a fresh green juice. Cucumber, celery, carrot, beet, all those great things are low glycemic and fantastic as well for your workouts to stay hydrated, get your electrolytes naturally, plus they're more alkaline. What does that mean? For all the people out there who are scared about acid alkaline, well, alkaline means this: they have more minerals. And those minerals are going to help buffer acids. I'll talk about some other great techniques that you can use in the future as well. Now, lots of water, the majority of water should be around your workout if your body's calling for that. If your body's saying, I'm thirsty during my workouts, great. Drink more. After your workout, what's the best thing you can do? Smoothie. Absolutely, no doubt about it. Why? The blood flow is not in your stomach, so you have to keep it easy to digest. Smoothie time after the workout, great thing. Or just let your body cool down about an hour, and then you can have that post-workout meal. We'll talk about that post-workout meal in the future. And also in the future, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite herbs and natural supplements I used, and I share with everybody in my private practice as well, on how to modulate inflammation and how to produce less lactic acid or clear lactic acid faster, so that you really give your workouts and obviously your entire body transformation and longevity and health a boost to that next level. So hopefully today's show was informative. Really enjoyed today's show. I actually never know in what direction it's going to take, but I really did enjoy this one and bringing that to you today. So please do feel free to share it with anyone. It could help. Take care. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only two ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.